Daycare Chronicles One-on-One podcast, and I am your host, Miss Tanya. I want to thank you all for joining in today. I have an exciting topic for y'all today. I have decided that I'm just going to be transparent. I'm going to be vulnerable. I want you all to know that Miss Tanya came from very, very humble beginnings. I'm from Youngstown, Ohio. I moved to California when I was about 13 years old, and life changed. Let me just tell you that, right? So at 21, I had my first child, my daughter Chanel, my beautiful daughter Chanel. And then at 23, I was married and I instantly had bonus children, right? So Chanel was one, my oldest bonus daughter was 3, and then the other one was an infant. And then I was pregnant. Yeah, okay. So imagine a 23-year-old with 3 children and pregnant, and your husband leaves $5 on that dresser for the day. Now, we had food, we had things like that, but he was going off to work. I was on maternity leave from the bank. I worked at the bank before I got into childcare. So I'm at the house with these 3, infant toddlers, and I'm pregnant, and I got $5. The defeat at that moment, the struggle at that moment to try to understand how I got where I was. I could not believe that he left $5 on the dresser for the day. At that moment in time, I made a conscious decision. This will not be my life. This is not going to be my story. I dealt with it. I got the babies together, grabbed that double stroller, and the oldest child, she's holding my hand, and we're walking to the 99-cent store. Where else could I go? It's about a block away from the house just to get the children out. So I go over to the 99-cent store. I believe I grabbed maybe 3 or 4 things and, for the children. And that was our little outing for the day. I felt so defeated. I couldn't believe that I was in that space. Not listening to my mother saying, why would you be with someone who, had children already, but you can't help who you love, right? And so I had my son, and I didn't want to go back to work. I wanted to stay home and rear my own child. Now, I had an amazing provider for my daughter, Chanel. She was actually her second provider. And so she was absolutely amazing. We're still friends today. I'm her daughter's godmother. That's Michaela's mom. And then she's my son, Robert's godmother. So it was like one big happy family, right? So I was like, I want to stay home and do daycare. My mother's like, how could you leave the bank? That's stability, blah, blah, blah. And my grandmother was like, go for it. Now, my grandmother, I'm born on her birthday. May Allah be pleased with her. She's no longer with us. But when I tell you she was my number one supporter, that she encouraged, supported, she would give her last dollar. And she was a praying woman too, okay? So grandma encouraged me. And at the time, the husband that I had at that time, he encouraged me as well because he was self-employed. So I started doing research. I didn't know where to start. I started doing research. I called Crystal Stairs, which is R&R referral agency, and I met an amazing woman by the name of Laverne Miller. She worked in resource and referral, and she helped me out so much. But as far as like getting my contract together, trying to figure out how this daycare thing works, I only knew from experience of being a parent. Like this is, what the provider expects from the parent. So I started calling around to schools. I started, pretending that I wanted to enroll my child. Hey, you got to do what you got to do, right? Enroll my child in their programs to be able to get like their literature, their brochures, things like that. And so that is how I got started with my daycare. It was that $5 left on that dresser. When I tell you just the thoughts that I have thinking back to that moment to where I am today. And I was only supposed to do daycare for 2 years. We had said, okay, 2 years and then you'll get a center. I'm 58. I started daycare at 23. I am still doing family childcare in my home, and it is where I am supposed to be. I absolutely love what I do. I love the intimate setting of what I do. And there are times when, being a large facility, you can have 14 children at one time. So there was a time when I was 24 hours. So there were children around all the time, weekends and everything. Yeah, that didn't last too long, okay? Because you need time for yourself. But when I tell you that I started a small daycare, 6 to 8 children. After 1 year, you could get licensed for large. And that's exactly what I did. So my first year of doing it, I immediately was full within a month or so. And it has always been that way. There have been, slow pockets here and there. But for the most part, I've always been full. I've always had children. And a lot of what I had to learn about the business, though, was OJT, on the job training. Let me tell you, unfortunately, in this field that we are in, no one wants to share. I'm going to say it again. No one wants to share. And I'm sure that that's probably the reason why I share so much, because I'm just that person. That's just my personality. That's who I am. I can't keep every child in the city of Hawthorne, California. You can't keep every child in Los Angeles or Norwalk or Palmdale. Like, refer to others. But in this field, I call it set tripping. Okay? Like, literally, I have met providers and tried to network with them. And I'm sure some of you have experienced the same thing. It's not just Miss Tanya, to where they just don't want to share the information. And why not? If a parent calls you and you can't care for their child, or you don't have the room or the space, refer to another provider. You're being unfair to the parent and the other providers in your community. Like, come on here now. What y'all doing out there? And that needs to change. The culture of that really, really needs to change, because these children that are in our communities, they need us. And if we form a network within our communities, then we can keep the children in our communities, in our facilities. And so that'll be good. The parents won't have to go out searching outside of where they live for childcare to make it a longer drive or inconvenient or whatnot. Now, I do have clients that drive from way out, that work out this way, but live further, but they want their children to come over to Miss Tanya. And if I can't keep them, I will refer them out. So we got to get beyond the set tripping, as I call it, okay? Because it's real. It absolutely is real. So after my first year of doing it and I went for large, I was fortunate enough because my children were young. Chanel was 2 and Robert was a newborn. And so my children grew up within the daycare. So it's not always as difficult as what you think to get started. I already had toys because I had children already. My home was already set up. I just had to follow the guidelines and baby proof it and, do all the CPR and the TB test, all those regulation things that we have to do. But as far as my setting goes, I already had children. And so my children had playmates. That's how I looked at it. There were other children that were coming in that were able for me to be able to stay home with my own children. So I've always been vested in the daycare because it always meant something to me. It allowed me to be able to stay home with my own children. And that within itself was a blessing and make some money. Because that $5, never. Needless to say, that marriage only lasted a couple of years because, listen, once I started making some money and it became an issue within the marriage, then it was like, listen, I'm not going back. This is who I am. This is what I love. And let me touch on this for a second. Daycare can disrupt your family. It can take over your home. And that's not what we want. So we have to be mindful of our own children, their feelings, our spouses, our significant others, their feelings. We have to take that into consideration because oftentimes you just want to make sure that every space is full, that you're making, the max amount of money that you can. And that can interfere with family. there has to be a balance between your daycare and your family in your home. You have to find that balance because my daughter did well with it, and I thought my son was okay with it. But as they got older, my daughter shared with me that she really, she didn't mind. She has a different personality. Whereas my son felt like, the daycare was taking me away from him. And I really didn't know that because as much time as I could without the daycare, I spent quality time with my children. We took vacations, we took trips. Every Saturday morning we got up, we went to breakfast, like we would go and we would do things. So I didn't know that he felt that way. Whereas Chanel was like, hey, she could just go on with the flow. That's just her personality, right? And so make sure that you are finding that balance and you're taking time with your children and your family. Because what you don't want is for them to feel neglected, because then that will affect your spirit and how you are with the children. It can just disrupt a whole family. So everybody needs to be on board, okay? My husband, Marcus, my hubby, he's totally on board with it. He loves children. He's a high school teacher, so he gets the older ones. I have the younger ones. It's just beautiful. And we're 17 years in, 10 toes down, okay? Listen, I got it right that time. So just make sure that when you're thinking of opening your daycare, that you take these things into consideration. Consider your hours. Consider what you're going to offer. Um, Consider how you think things are going to be. Because I say think because it's nothing like what I thought. It is nothing like what I thought, okay? Especially now because we're, I would say, like many preschools, literally. Daycare is so advanced and evolved now than it was in 1990 when I got licensed. And if you are not keeping up with the modern times, if you are not keeping up with these trainings, if you are not doing professional development, you are going to be left behind. You got to keep up. You got to keep um, evolving within this field. Because I will tell you, the children that I kept in 1990, 2000, 2022, they are not the children that I'm keeping today. Okay? These children are so intelligent, so smart, and they want to be entertained. And so we're seeing a lot of behavioral issues because the children, everybody has a tablet. They're swiping, 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 swiping. You got infants who know how to swipe, swipe, swipe. And it's just like they love to watch other children play, which is something I guess I just don't understand. But you have to keep them engaged. If something's not working, you got to move on to the next thing. You got a minute or two. If you cannot gain their attention, keep them engaged, and then you, as a provider, like, well, why isn't this working? Don't worry about that. We're going to move on to something else. We'll figure that out. Because you don't have the time to try to sit and figure something out when you're in the middle of your day, when you're in the middle of circle time and something isn't working. You need to have 3 or 4 different activities lined up just in case something isn't working. Because if you are not animated, if you are not engaging, if you don't have that smile, if you don't have that fluctuation in your tone when you're reading a story, you done lost them. And then you got a problem. And then you worried about, oh, well, this behavior, why is this child acting like this? Because they bored. You're not keeping them engaged. You're not entertaining them. I'm going to entertain you, but you're going to learn. Absolutely. And children learn through play. And so what I've learned, especially through COVID, you all, is that these children were stressed out during COVID like we were as adults. So trying to get them to sit at this table and do these worksheets and do this trace and all that, some of them just didn't want to do that because by the time they got home, all they had was that tablet. They were being entertained. The parents were stressed out. They on their phones. Everybody has to digress. And so what I learned was being outside. And I love being outside. I've always been outside with my daycare. Now it's a thing to have an outdoor classroom. Well, Miss Tanya's always had an outdoor classroom because we're going to play. I guess it was just something that Allah put in me that I didn't even realize at the time when I was doing it. creating this outdoor play area. And so oftentimes when you have a child that is indoors all day and they're just not able to go outside or they only go outside for a little bit, then you see a lot of behavioral problems. They get cabin fever. And it's just being in that one room or in that one setting doing the same redundant thing every day. When people ask me, what do you do for curriculum? I will say that I no longer purchase curriculum. However, I'm always searching for things to do with the children. I've been doing this over 35 years. I have what I need in my head as far as to teach the children in my care. However, I keep taking professional development trainings. I keep evolving my learning so that I am able to give them what they need, meet them where they are. That outdoor classroom, I'm telling y'all, if you need help designing your outdoor classroom, which is something that I do, I can help you. All you have to do is go to my website, daycarechronicles101.com, or you can email me, daycarechronicles101 at Yahoo. You can DM me, you can text me. I will help you with this. It's something that I have a passion for and I love to do it. Now, you don't have to pay for it, but I can help you do it, okay? I love children being outside, enjoying themselves. And what I will say is that I do a daily setup for the children. I'll set up outside for the children, and I do it with intention, though. Whatever the theme may be, I'm big on themes. If you follow me on any social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, I'm Daycare Chronicles 101. Follow me and you will see my daily setups and the things that I do with the children. It is so intentional because we are setting the foundation for the children in our care. And children learn through play. Science proves it. They learn through play. I'm not just haphazardly just putting stuff out. I'm like, okay, y'all go ahead on. This is what y'all doing. No, that's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is, say for instance, I'll use the apple theme. We have the apple theme. So we're going to have books about apples. We're going to have, real apples, pretend apples. We're going to do like an apple orchard. We may have apples hanging from the tree. I have a beautiful tree on my patio. I'm going to be intentional about it. We're going to add some science in there. We're going to add some music in there. There's so much that goes into creating a curriculum for the children, and it does not have to be all worksheets and writing. Children learn through play. So do your research. Go on Pinterest, go on Google. Teachers Pay Teachers is an amazing website. Etsy has some amazing templates. When I say that, most of the work is already done for you. And now that we have Chat GPT, I call that my girlfriend, right? I love me some Chat GPT because I will put my idea in there. Solomon is over there shaking his head. My producer is shaking his head. I will put my thoughts in there and it will come up with as many ideas as I need. So there's no excuse for y'all not to have those babies outside. We may have music and movement. I may have the stepping stones out, have the instruments out, have the parachute out, have the little scarves out. Children love to be moving. They love to be entertained. However, remember, it's about being intentional with them learning through play. And you can do this. If I can do it, you can do it too. And if you need any help, all you got to do is hit me up and I got you. Now, maybe a little fee behind there, but I do got you. But I share so much on Instagram and Facebook that you can just go to my pages and see what I have. It's right there for you. If you want something individualized or something personalized, then hit me up. I mean, I'm a book author. You guys see my book right here, right? So I've written a book. Absolutely. Solomon has pulled up my IG page, And so there are skits in there. There's so much. There's chronicles in there, tips in there, just on how to deal with so much. I was standing in my backyard, January of 2019. Never forget it. COVID, that year, right? Allah said to me, I need you to start sharing your stories. I need you to start sharing what you do. The world needs to know. When I got started, nobody helped me besides Miss Laverne once I got, my contract, my license and everything. But I did all the footwork. I did all the groundwork. I did all the research. At 23, I had no idea. Not one provider that I called would help me. No, not one. And I don't mind sharing. I don't mind giving you information so that you don't have to make the same mistakes, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's here. I got it. I got you. You know, I cannot wait to have some of you on the podcast so that you can come and tell your stories too. Solomon can Zoom you on in, and here we are. We're going to have a conversation. So you don't necessarily have to be in the studio with me, but if you are, I love that. But if not, we worldwide, baby. We're taking this worldwide, okay? We're going to Zoom you right on in here, and we're going to have these critical conversations. Absolutely. I am just so blessed to be what I do. And again, it was that $5 that was left on that dresser that changed the trajectory of my life. It really, really, really did. And I can't thank Allah enough because he saw when I didn't see. And I love family child care. And for those of you that are providers out there, keep doing what y'all doing. But elevate your game. Stay a student. I will forever be a student of the game. Let me tell you, of life, period. The minute that you think you know everything, that's a problem. That's a problem. Because not one of us knows everything. And there's always room for growth. Even at my age of 58, and I'm proud to say that I'm 58 years old. So proud because I've been in this game a long time. So I have so much wisdom, so much knowledge that I would love to share with you if you want it. Absolutely. Another thing that I want to talk about, you all, real briefly, is your contracts. I want to say this to you. I learned through OJT and the hard way about contracts. And the number one thing about contracts is how you get your payments. Back in 1990, 1992, back in those days, you would watch the child Monday through Friday and then get paid on Friday, right? Not no more. Absolutely not. I cannot tell you how many times I had clients who I would watch their children Monday through Friday. And on Friday, they would send someone else to come and pick their children up because payments were due by 6 p.m. on Friday. So they wouldn't have the money. So I'm like, well, where's the parent? I don't know. They just told me to come pick the child up. I ain't got nothing to do with that. Can I have a child? So I was young, but I learned that you get your money in advance. So then I started where, okay, there's a registration fee. We're going to charge you that. And then I'm going to charge you your weekly fee in advance. So every Friday, when my clients pay me by 9 a.m., payments are due by 9 a.m., not no 6 p.m., not no 5 o'clock, not no 10 o'clock at night. By 9 a.m. on Friday mornings, payments are due for the following week. So the parents are always paying in advance. I remember I had a father. I was writing out receipts then. We all remember we write out receipts. Some probably still do. I use Brightwheel now. I use the app. I don't have to do that. They have Brightwheel. They have ProCare. They have, I think it's Rise Childcare. They have all these other apps now where you can use them to track and, for payments and things like that. But I had this dad. Now, I know good and well he did not pay me. He's going to tell me, I paid you. And I was like, no, I have your receipt right here. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I paid you. And at that moment, because I used to have parents pay me and then I get a receipt later or whatever, that taught me you had that receipt ready. Have that receipt ready. So when they pay you, you can just give them their receipt and then that way you know they paid you. But I know this client did not pay me. I had to eat it. I had to suck it up. But it taught me a lesson. And he still kept bringing his children, but I know that he knew he did not pay me. But I didn't have proof because, like I said, at that time, I may not have had the receipt written out and I would give it to him later or whatnot. No. After that, Receipts are ready. So one of the most difficult things, or I would say uncomfortable things, is to ask a parent, oh, do you have your payment? So uncomfortable. So what I started doing was when they thought they were going to walk out that door on Friday, this is when we were paid in advance now, I would have the receipt and I would say, hey, do you have your payment? And then, they're going to look stupid, like, or looking crazy, right? And I'm like, I need you to pay because if you don't, my late fee is $50 a day now for every day that you're not paying me. So today is Friday. So if I don't get my money today, tomorrow it's going to be an extra 50. Sunday it's going to be an extra 50. And your child can't come until you pay me, plus the late fee. You learn. You learn. And some of those lessons are so hard and so uncomfortable. I have literally had to go to the door, be like, hey, hold on. Oh, hold on, Miss Tanya. I'm going to come back with it. And don't come back. Then they show up on Monday and they just had the regular fee. No. What about that Saturday and Sunday? Because if your job don't pay you on time, it's going to be a problem. Y'all about to go postal on somebody if they don't pay you on time. So pay your providers on time. And as providers, you must stick to your rules. I got so many sob stories about payments. And there are times when maybe it's a parent who is really struggling, having a good time, where you may give them a little break and say, okay, I'm going to let you catch up next week, But for the most part, Miss Tanya, I don't do that. No, it has to be a very special situation because you're never going to get caught up. Once you get caught up, and then they're like, oh, well, you know what? I don't have next week. Girl, we're not about to do this. We're not about to do this. I had a client who could never stay caught up. And I was just like, Lord, help me. She was a single parent, and I tried to work with her as much as I could. And I just finally had to put my foot down and say, maybe this is just not the daycare for you. Maybe you just cannot afford my rates or whatnot. When I said that, she started paying on time all the time because I wasn't playing no more. Sometimes you have to let these clients know this is a business. Like, let me remind you that this is a business. And I need to be paid just like you need to be paid. Because you know what? If you don't have daycare, you know where you're not going? To work. You need childcare to go to work. So pay your provider on time. I say this because I once had to pay for daycare. When Chanel was little, Michelle kept her. I had to pay her. And there was no exceptions. Now, what we paid her? Oh, I tell Michelle I still owe her money. Michelle was $40 a week back in 1990, 89, 88 and 89. I say, no way. I tell her to this day, I still owe you money. And I'm such a good godmother, and I can say that to Michaela. And Michaela's such a beautiful godchild, but I'll do anything for her because my gratitude of what she did for me when my children were little, and my children are 35 and 37. And I'm still so grateful to her for caring and helping me rear my children to where she is my son's godmother. So relationships and families can be built through daycare. And that's what it's all about. Is being there, building community, being a part of a child's life, helping them grow and develop, helping them meet their milestone. Daycare is just powerful. It's so powerful, it's so necessary, and it's so underrated. It absolutely is underrated. But we in this field know what we do, what it takes, how we get up even when we're not feeling well. I hurt my knee this week. I had to go to Kaiser. I need a whole MRI on my knee. But daycare was open. I iced it, put it up, took the little anti-inflammatory. That's dedication. That's dedication. I could have shut it down, but I know that my clients need me. And I'm there for them as much as I can be. The only thing that I can think of this time and I know we all go through this, that is so challenging is the sick policy. That sick policy will have you losing clients, will have clients upset with you because Daycare is not a hospital. It's not. We can't have everybody up in there with runny noses, snotty noses, coughing, sneezing, snorting all over everybody. And just because a client may go to the doctor and the doctor's like, okay, they're better, everything seems to be okay, but they still got a slight runny nose or a slight cough, they're not daycare ready. We have to think about the daycare as a whole. I have air purifiers in 2 rooms in my home, for the daycare children. I'm very clean. I got OCD, all of that. Um, I was COVID cleaning before COVID. It's gonna be clean, it's gonna be disinfected, and it's gonna be sanitized. But that does not stop these childhood illnesses. Let me tell you. And so enforcing that sick policy sometimes is so uncomfortable for parents and for providers. We want your child to come. We do. Because that's what we're here for. However, this is not a hospital. So, for all of you that may not know this that are in SoCal, Torrance Memorial has TLC sick child care. If your child is mildly ill or whatnot, you can go onto their website, register your child, do what all you need to do, give them all the information and all of that. And then when you need it, you just call them and say, hey, my child, I need a spot for them for the day if they're too sick to go to daycare. And I know it can be an inconvenience, but what's the alternative? You missing work all the time? Because 0 to 5 is the sickest time in a child's life. And I don't care how much you clean, how much I'm outside, how much we're not locked in with the windows closed. Let me say this too. Open them windows up. Open them windows up. Y'all in there with them windows closed, talking about I'm cold. Put a jacket on. You need to have some air circulating through your home. Okay? You harboring germs. Let them germs out. Open them doors up. It's okay. Put a little jacket on. You're going to be all right. But that sick policy and vitamins. Child Life vitamins, I'm not getting paid to say this. Child Life vitamins work. You can find them on Amazon, Sprouts, Whole Foods, they're in there. They have C, D, zinc, multivitamin, all of that. First defense. Those vitamins work. Put them in a little juice cup, give it to them, go on about your business. Let me tell you, you want to boost their immune system. And so giving them vitamins is going to help them. But what's even more important than giving them vitamins is how you feed them. Yeah. All this fast food, no, it's not helping your child. We got to get back to cooking. We have to get back to cooking good, healthy meals. Unfortunately, we don't have too many big mamas no more. Big mama would be cooking. Solomon, you remember big mamas?
I
big,
remember.
big mama would be cooking. Have meals ready for them babies. Anything they want is in there. We don't have that no more. Everything is so quick. Everything is just run through that drive-through. And it's just not healthy for our babies or for the parents. You wonder why you tired because you ain't eating right. Your children cutting up because they ain't eating right, So we have to do better as a culture and a community. And, basically, I feel like we need to start growing our food too. I garden, and it's not that hard. The daycare gardens too. So this podcast, let me say this, it's just going to be so informational. It's going to be so supportive of you as a community, as providers, as parents. Miss Tanya is here for you. For everybody that has poured into me, I'm able to share it with y'all. And my grandmother poured so much into me, so much wisdom, so much knowledge. And having the faith that I have keeps me being a praying woman and keeps me being a student and keeps me being optimistic. And it definitely has me knowing that these babies that we keep, we have to be mindful of what we pour into them, what we put into them, and the memories that they will have of us. I consider myself a memory maker. And that's what I say at Bliss Childcare. I make memories. The children may not remember my name when they get older, but they will remember some of the things that happened in my care. And I am just so grateful for that. So we're building community here. I want y'all to hit me up because I want you to come on the show. I absolutely do. We're going to have a provider circle. And it's not going to always be the same circle of providers. I want to have a variety, diversity. I want it to be worldwide. And with that being said, I just really want to thank you all so much for tuning in, for listening. I pray that I said something that will encourage you, inspire you, just to, keep staying a student and just be a better provider. Because we are in this together. Miss Tiny got so many stories, y'all. So many stories that we're going to talk about. But today I want to share that $5 you left on that dresser. Until next time.